Hey, what's going on, guys? Alex here with TFL Classics. We're here in the garage today busting out the tools because right here is our 1987 BMW 5 Series and it's got a little bit of an issue with it. So looking back here by the trunk, you can see this big hole. So there's an antenna that's supposed to pop up out of here, and we haven't been driving this car because it's been rainy and snowy and water's gonna get all in there. So in this video, we're gonna be fixing that issue and putting a new antenna in this car. So here's the one that came with the car, and it does not work at all. This just makes the worst noise when you try and put it up. So we went online and ordered a new retractable power antenna. It says it's universal, but it looks pretty similar to what was in here before. So here's the unit right here, and basically we're just gonna figure out how to install it, because I don't think it's going to be quite as easy as I originally thought. All right, so looking inside here, we can see that the BMW does have an aftermarket Kenwood radio, which is a little bit of a bummer, but this radio does work. It just doesn't get any signal or push out any audio because there's no antenna hooked up to it. So let's go take care of that. So I already have this piece of trunk liner pulled back to expose where this is actually going to mount up to, and luckily all the wiring is still here for the factory antenna, and already have the hole pre-cut and everything, and it looks like some mounting points down there for the new unit. So we're in good shape starting off with this project, but before I actually go ahead and get this all mounted up, I want to just connect the wires and make sure it actually functions. That way, if it doesn't, I don't waste a bunch of time actually installing it onto the car. So let's hook up those wires. All right, so on the antenna unit, there's a little coax input right there, and there's a coax cable from the car. So I'm just gonna line those two up and thread it on. And then one of these wires here is for power, and one of them is to send the signal to actually retract and extend the antenna. So I looked in the manual for this, and it looks like red is power on both the car and on the new antenna. So I'm just gonna hook up red to red. The car has this connector on it from the factory. I don't have a matching end for that, but I can just use these little tabs, just insert it there, just like that. And then we'll hook up the blue wire from the antenna to the white wire of the car. That should be for sending the signal to retract and extend, just like that. So now we've got the coax cable for the actual radio signal hooked up, power and signal wires hooked up. Lastly is just going to be the ground wire. And I'm just gonna ground it to this bolt right here. All right, sweet, so all the wiring is hooked up. It's a little bit of a rat's nest right now, but it's good enough to see if this unit actually functions, if the car sends the antenna upward, and if we get some music coming through the radio. So let's give it a shot. All right, I'm in the car right now. Case is behind the camera. He's gonna let me know if it works. So I'm gonna start the car and turn the radio on. Hopefully we get a signal. You ready? And we have music. It's not tuned to a very good channel, but do have a signal. Awesome. So, antenna goes up and down. Looks like it works perfectly. So now I can unhook all those wires and actually go for a clean looking install now. Just wanted to make sure it worked. All right, so let's take a look at how this antenna actually mounts to the car. So to hold it to the body, basically it's just got this little bracket at the bottom with a hole there. You throw a bolt through, and then up top, there's a couple pieces here to actually like make a watertight seal against the body of the car where the antenna actually pokes out. So there's a little nut on the top that threads off, and then you can pull off these couple of caps here. And this is really what we're looking for. This is the seal. It comes apart in a couple pieces, and this is what's going to kind of clamp down on the outside of the car, make that watertight seal, keep everything keep everything how it's supposed to be. Now on the bottom here, there's also a little drain, speaking of water. So I just took this hose off of the antenna that was already in there and moved it over to the new antenna. And then there's a little drain port under where this mounts, where this hose is gonna run. That way, if any water gets into the antenna, it has a place to drain and doesn't just pool up inside of the trunk. All right, so I've been playing with this off camera for a few minutes because the box says easy install and it's anything but that. Basically, it comes with a bunch of different gaskets at the top to make a seal. And if you look here, if we kind of line this up, this is just, I don't know why, but way too wide. The trunk's not gonna close, and if we end up cutting that off, it's just gonna look like crap. So what we've done is kind of sourced some parts from the old antenna. So I'm using kind of the bottom half from what came with this. If I line it up here, then I can drop down the old gasket, and I found out if I take this little ring that came with the new antenna and flip it upside down, it helps kind of fill that gap right there. And then this top cap can just thread right on till it's tight. And then basically just gonna get that lined up right, make sure everything's working how it should, nothing's getting caught up, and then I'll throw a bolt down in the bottom and rewire the whole thing back up. So a little bit of a jerry-rig solution, but luckily we had some extra parts from the old antenna and we were able to make this work. All right, so let's get this thing installed for real. First thing I'm gonna do is get a zip tie around this drain hose because it's a little loose and I don't want it to come off. So just gonna cinch it down with a zip tie and trim off the end. Now I'm gonna kind of get this in here, get it mocked up. So this little hose is gonna go through this hole in the bottom of the car to drain out. And then I'm just gonna shimmy this in, get it lined up right. I'm missing a cone. I need a cone. There's the cone. There we go. Get my gasket, throw that on the top. Little plastic ring that goes over the antenna, and finally the little threaded top cap that holds everything down. All right, so I'm just gonna get this tightened down. Now I'm just gonna pretty much send it home with a self-tapper. So just make sure the angles all look good. There's a little bit of adjustability in here. That's looking pretty straight to me. Sweet. All right, now to just wire everything back up. So I'm gonna pull these cables behind here, hook up the coax cable for the radio signal. All right, I am gonna hook the ground back up where I had it before. And again, I'll just snake this behind just to keep the wiring a little cleaner and out of the way. But ground will go right back here. Now the power and the antenna wire are just gonna go right back into that harness. So red one's hooked up, and then the blue one. We should be all set now. So before I put this carpet back, I'm gonna give it one more little test just to make sure nothing needs to be adjusted, but I think we're good. All right, I can't play that for too long because it's not copyright-free music, but it is working, so let's get that carpet tacked back in. All right, so there's a ton of extra wiring here. I've got it all wrapped up. I'm just gonna throw a zip tie around it, keep it nice and clean. Don't wanna make it too tight in case I ever have to go in and mess with it, so just give it a little snip. And now I'm gonna hide that back here and throw one more zip tie just to re-secure this wire, because I did end up cutting a zip tie back here to give myself a little extra slack on these factory wires. So I'm just gonna run the zip tie through the little loop of wires I made, just like that. Get it started here, and then Just kind of get it tucked back in there. And I know I probably could have shortened those wires, but there's a big cavity for them to hide out back there, so it doesn't really make a huge difference. But anyway, just get some of these tools moved out of the way. Got quite the collection right now going on in the trunk. And then this can just get fit right back in. Cool, we're all back in. So that's pretty much a wrap. I don't know if maybe you learned anything in this video, but we figured we'd take you along the process, just kind of showing you the minor things that need to be done on an old German car if you want to bring it back up to, you know, the way that it makes you happy driving around. So no working radio, that's definitely a big bummer. And now it's all fixed up. We've got music again in the car, and it really wasn't all that hard. It just took a little bit of brain power to mix some parts from the old one, throw them on the new one, get it to mount up properly. But it's all good, it's working well, should be watertight, and we should be good to go with some tunes on the road. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to head back over to TFL-studios.com so you don't miss any of our content across all of our channels. Also, check out our podcast, TFL Talk. You can get there over at TFLcar.com, and we'll catch you in the next video. See you next time.